Tomel lived in a small house near the edge of a quiet farming town. He liked peace, tools, and fixing things. Every night after finishing his work, he would lie on the roof of his house and look at the stars. The stars made him feel calm. They reminded him that the world was big and his problems were small. One night, while lying on the roof, he saw something strange in the sky. A bright light was moving fast, much faster than any plane. It wasn't blinking like an airplane. It was burning. The light grew bigger and brighter. Tomel sat up. The object wasn't flying across the sky, it was falling. It crashed into the forest just beyond the hills, lighting up the night like lightning. Then came the sound, a loud boom, and the ground shook. Tomel didn't think twice, jumped off the roof, grabbed his coat, a flashlight, and his old bike. The crash site was maybe a 15-minute ride from his house. He pedaled fast, heart racing. He had no idea what he would find, but he had to see it. The trees were dark and quiet. The smell of smoke filled the air. He followed the smell and the faint glow in the distance. After pushing his bike through thick branches, he saw it looked like a small spaceship, silver, round, and half buried in the ground, with broken pieces spread around. Steam hissed from its sides. A strange blue liquid dripped from one part. Tomel slowly walked closer. He didn't see any fire, but the ship was still hot. A panel on the side had broken open. Inside was a seat, and in that seat was someone. It was a girl. It's not human. She had silver blue skin, short white hair, and glowing eyes that slowly blinked. She was wearing something like a soft suit, torn in many places. Her arms and legs didn't move. Tomel whispered, "Hello? Can you hear me?" The girl blinked. Her lips didn't move. Her eyes looked tired and full of pain. Tomel looked around. He had no phone signal out here, and he knew calling someone might bring trouble. The government, the army, they would take her away. They might hurt her. He made a quick choice. "I'll help you," he said softly. He ran back to his bike and returned with a blanket from the basket. Carefully, he covered her and tried to lift her. She was light, too light for someone her size. It's like she had hollow bones. It took time, but Tomel carried her to his bike and placed her gently in the cart he used for tools. He covered her completely and pedaled back home as fast as he could. At home, he carried her inside and laid her on his couch. Her eyes were open, watching everything, but her body didn't move at all. He spoke to her gently. "I don't know your name, but I'll call you Avi. Is that okay?" Soft blink. Maybe yes. Tomel didn't know alien medicine, but he knew how to keep someone warm, how to give water, and how to care. He cleaned the wounds on her arms and gave her drops of water with a spoon. He found that her skin healed fast, but she still couldn't move. He stayed up all night watching her, making sure she was safe in the days that followed. Tomel told his neighbors he was working on a big project and didn't want to be disturbed. He locked his gate and focused on Avi. She stayed silent, her eyes always watching. He noticed her eyes followed light, motion, and even his face. Slowly, she began to blink in patterns, and Tomel started to understand. 1 blink for yes, 2 for no. He asked simple questions. "Are you in pain?" 1 blink. "Can you feel your arms?" 2 blinks. Her body was completely paralyzed. In her mind, her thoughts were sharp. One day, while checking the wreckage hidden in his barn, Tomel found a small glass cube. When he touched it, it showed floating lights and symbols. A bright image appeared in the air, a group of tall, elegant aliens in armor, speaking a language he didn't know. Then came her face. Avi, dressed in gold and silver, wearing a crown. Standing in a room of stars, Tomel stared, heart pounding. She was not just any alien. She was a princess, royal. In the next image, he saw a large battle, explosions, spaceships firing at each other. Then her ship escaping, a traitor firing at her. The pod crashing through a wormhole. Tomel sat down slowly. Everything made sense now. Avi wasn't just a traveler. She was a fugitive, target, and she was completely helpless. That night, Tomel sat beside her, holding the cube in his hands. He looked at her glowing eyes. "I don't know why you ended up here, Avi," he said, "but I promise I'll protect you. You're safe here. No one will find you." Her eyes softened. 1 slow blink. That was how it all began. A crash in the forest, a broken pod, and a silent promise. A human farmer and an alien princess. Every morning, Tomia woke up early to care for Avi. It had been over 2 weeks since her crash, and she still could not move or speak. Her eyes were the only way she communicated. ... But in those eyes, Tomil saw strength and hope. She was not just a helpless alien. She was fighting to survive. He had hidden the broken pieces of her pod in the old barn behind his house. No one went in there anymore. That place had been his father's workshop. Now, it was where the secrets of the stars were kept. Tomil spent his evenings inside the barn, studying every piece of alien metal and crystal. He didn't understand much, but he was good with machines. One part looked like a power core, another looked like some kind of computer. He kept returning to the glass cube that had shown the images of Avi's past. One night, while holding the cube, it glowed again. A soft hum filled the air. Light beams formed symbols in the air. A voice began to speak, but not in English. Tomil leaned closer, and after a few seconds, the words changed. Emergency protocol activated. Royal passenger injured. Escape pod offline. Contact main fleet. The message repeated again and again. It meant someone had tried to call for help, but no one had answered. Tomel sat in the dark thinking. Avi's people must have been too far away, or maybe they thought she had died in the crash. He couldn't let that happen. She was alive. She needed help. But if he called the Earth government, they might try to study her or lock her away. Had to do something on his own. Back inside the house, Tamil looked at Avi lying on the small bed he had built for her. She stared back at him, her silver blue face calm. I found a message, he told her. It was calling for help. I think I can try to fix it. Maybe I can reach your people. Avi blinked once, yes. But if I do this, he continued, someone else might hear it too. Bad people. The ones who attacked you. Her eyes blinked again, slower this time. She understood the danger. Still, her gaze said one thing. Try. Tamil began working every night. He took parts from the escape pod, old radios, and even his broken television. It took weeks of careful work. He had to build something that could send a signal through space, something strong enough to reach another star. During the day, he read books about sound waves and radio frequencies. At night, he tested wires and powered crystals in the barn. One time, a crystal exploded and burned his hand. Still, he didn't stop. Avi watched him from the window when he carried parts in and out. Sometimes, he would talk to her, even if she didn't answer. You'd probably understand all this faster than me, he joked one night, wiping sweat from his forehead. You're royalty from space? I'm just a guy who fixes tractors? Her eyes blinked once. That meant yes, right? He laughed. One evening, after nearly 2 months of hard work, the device lit up. A clear hum filled the barn. The air shimmered slightly, and the cube began glowing again. Tamil quickly turned it off and ran back inside. He sat beside Avi. I think it's ready. Can send your signal. If anyone's listening, they'll come. Avi blinked twice. Then once, then slowly again. Her eyes looked serious. Are you worried? Tomil asked. One blink. Do you still want me to do it? One blink again. Tomil nodded. He understood. Even if it was dangerous, she wanted to go home. She wanted to tell her people she was alive. That night, he activated the device. A blue beam rose into the sky, invisible to the human eye, but strong enough to cross the stars. Days passed, and weeks. Avi still couldn't move, but her health looked better. Her color was brighter, her eyes were clearer. Tamil fed her, helped, cleaned her and spoke to her every day. She had become a part of his life. He stopped feeling like she was an alien. She was just Avi then. One cold night, something changed. Tamil was closing the barn when he saw a light in the sky. A small one, like a star bud. It moved fast, very fast, and it stopped right above the forest. Then it vanished. He ran back inside. Avi, he said, breathing hard. I think someone's here. Her eyes widened. They didn't wait long. Within an hour, the air outside shimmered. A silent shape appeared in the forest behind his house. It looked like a ship, but unlike anything Tomil had ever seen. Dark, smooth, and quiet. Figures stepped out. Tall, wearing armor, with long cloaks. Their eyes glowed faintly. One of them held something a floating disc. When he spoke, the disc translated, "We are here for the princess." Tomil stood in front of them. She's inside. But she can't walk. She's paralyzed. The leader bowed slightly. She is alive because of you. For that, you have our thanks. They moved carefully into the house and gently lifted Avi. She looked at Tomil the whole time. Her eyes said everything. Thank you, as they turned to leave. One guard handed Tomil a small black box. From her, the translator said, "She says, this is your gift. And this, the guard placed a glowing crystal on the table, will explain everything when you are ready." Then they were gone. The ship vanished into the sky without a sound. Tomil sat alone, staring at the crystal and the box. She was gone. The house felt quiet. Too quiet. He looked out the window up at the stars. "I hope you're okay, Avi," he whispered, and deep inside he wondered would he ever see her again. Tomil woke up early, just like always, but this morning the house felt different. It was quiet, not just the kind of quiet you get when birds sleep in, but the kind of quiet that fills empty places, the kind of quiet that follows after someone leaves. Avi was gone. Tomil sat at the table, staring at the glowing crystal the aliens had left. It pulsed with soft blue light, like a slow heartbeat. The black box they had given him sat beside it. He hadn't opened it yet. He wasn't ready. He looked around his house. The small bed where Avi had rested for months was empty now. The blanket still held the shape of her body. The cup he used to feed her water still sat on the nightstand. Everything reminded him of her. He got up and walked to the window. The sky was clear. Stars were still there, just like the night she had fallen. From them, somewhere out there, she was flying home. Maybe she was safe now. Maybe she was still hurt. He didn't know. But one thing was clear. She had changed his life. Over the next few days, Tomil returned to his normal routine. He fixed broken machines, helped neighbors with farming tools, and worked in the barn when he had time, but nothing felt the same. The barn, once filled with mystery and wonder, now felt like an empty cave. The escape pod pieces were still there. They meant nothing without Avi. She had been the heart of it all. Still, the glowing crystal stayed on his table. Every night he looked at it. Sometimes he talked to it, as if it could hear him. "Hope they fixed you," he said one night. "I hope you can walk again. I hope you're smiling." On the 7th night after she left, Tomil finally picked up the crystal. As soon as he touched it, the light grew brighter, floated into the air, and projected a large image. It was Avi. She was dressed in shining silver robes, her hair brushed neatly, her crown resting on her head. But her face looked soft, warm, not like a queen, but like someone who remembered a small home far away. She began to speak, and a soft translator voice echoed in the room. "Tomil, I wanted to say goodbye properly. When you found me, I had nothing, no power, no voice, no movement. I was just a broken person. But you didn't leave me, you stayed." Her voice paused, then continued. "You didn't ask for anything. You gave me kindness. You fed me, cared for me, and never once treated me like I was strange. I could not speak, but I watched everything. You are the reason I'm alive." Al sat down slowly, eyes wide. Avi's image looked to the side as if thinking, then she turned back. "I am returning to my people. There is war in my world, but I will not let hate rule anymore. I carry your way with me now, the way of peace, the way of care, the way of a quiet man who lives by the stars." The image started to fade. "Goodbye, Tomil. If we meet again, I will walk through your door not as a princess in need, but as a friend." The crystal dimmed and gently floated back down. Tomil sat there, hands folded. He didn't cry, but his eyes were wet. That message was more than goodbye. It was a promise. Days turned into weeks. Spring came. Flowers bloomed outside, and birds sang again. Tomil got busy fixing water pumps and repairing old vehicles. He stopped checking the sky so often. Life moved forward. He finally opened the black box one evening. Inside was a small metal pendant. It looked like a star, but when he pressed it, it glowed softly and projected tiny images, photos, maybe memories. One was of Avi in his house, lying on the bed. Another showed Tomiel feeding her. There was even one of him working in the barn, not knowing he was being recorded. He smiled. "So you were watching me the whole time, huh?" The pendant became his most precious thing. He wore it under his shirt, close to his heart. He never showed it to anyone. People in town noticed he had changed. He smiled more, but he talked less. He seemed calm, peaceful, like someone who had seen something no one else had. One day, an old man asked, "You still fixing machines out there in that barn?" Tomil nodded. "Yeah, just not the same kind of machines anymore." Years passed. Tomil never forgot her. Sometimes he would lie on the roof again, just like the night she fell from the sky. He would look up and whisper, "Where are you now, Avi? Are you flying across the stars? Did you win your war?" He didn't know, but he trusted her, because if anyone could change a galaxy, it was the girl who once blinked at him from a broken pod, the one who couldn't move, but never gave up, the one he called Avi. One night, much later, Tomil stood in his barn, holding the glowing crystal again. It no longer showed her image. The message was over, but the feeling remained. The memory stayed. He looked up at the stars, smiling. "Goodbye, princess," he whispered. "Come back someday." It had been 6 years since Avi left. Tomil was no longer the same young man who once hid a crashed alien in his house. His hair was a bit longer, his hands rougher from work, and his face more quiet than before. But his eyes still held the same spark, the same habit of looking up at the stars. Before bed, life had returned to normal. Almost he still lived in the same house, fixed machines, and helped neighbors. But he didn't talk much about the past. No one knew the truth. To others, he was just a kind, quiet man who liked to work alone. He never told anyone about Avi. Some nights, he would sit on the roof and remember her glowing eyes, the way she blinked to say yes or no, the way her silent presence filled the room with peace. He often wondered, did she ever walk again? Was she safe now? Did she remember him? Or had he become a small, forgotten part of her royal life? One evening, it rained. The sky was dark, clouds heavy, and thunder rolled in the distance. Tomil sat near the fire, sipping hot tea and reading an old book. The barn was locked for the night. All tools were clean. Everything was calm. Then dash, knock. Knock, knock. 3 slow knocks on the door. Tomil looked up. He wasn't expecting anyone. Not during the rain, not this late. He opened the door and froze. Standing in the rain was Avi. She wore a long, dark cloak, wet from the storm. A silver-blue skin shimmered under the porch light. But she was not lying down or being carried. She was standing on her own feet. Her white hair was longer now, tied back neatly. Her eyes still glowed softly, but there was something new in them, strength. She smiled gently. "Hello, Tomil," she said in clear English. Tomil didn't move. He didn't speak. For a moment he thought he was dreaming. Avi took a step forward. "May I come in?" He blinked. "Yes, of course. Please." She walked into the house slowly, like someone returning to a place they knew well. Her eyes glanced around at the walls, the couch, the window where she used to lie. "I remember everything," she said softly. Tomil closed the door behind her. The rain tapped gently on the roof now. "You can walk," he finally said, his voice low with surprise. "Yes," Avi nodded. "It took time. Many surgeries, much healing, but yes, I'm fine now." She turned to face him. "Thanks to you." They sat by the fire, just like old times, except now she spoke. She sat tall, proud, but calm. She looked different, but she was still Avi. Tomil made tea, poured her a cup, and handed it to her. Their hands touched for a moment. Warmth passed between them. "Why are you here?" he asked. Avi took a small sip, then looked at him. "I wanted to see you again," she said. "I wanted to come back not as someone needing help, but as someone free." Tamil nodded slowly. He didn't ask questions right away. Didn't need to. Just listened. Avi continued. "After I returned, things were difficult. There was more fighting. The empire was broken. But I remembered your kindness. It gave me strength. I stood before our council and spoke of peace. Did they listen? Some did. Some didn't." She paused. "But we changed many things. I am not a queen, but I am a voice now. A strong one." Tomil smiled softly. "I'm glad." Avi leaned back in the chair. "I left behind something long ago, a part of me that learned how to be quiet, how to survive. I learned that strength does not come from weapons. It comes from small things, like care, patience, kindness." The room was silent again, but it wasn't empty. It was full of memory, full of warmth. Tamil finally asked, "Are you here for long?" Avi looked at him for a moment. Then she said, "I don't know. I had to leave my home again. Some still fear what I believe. They wanted me gone." "Are you in danger?" Tomil asked quickly. She smiled. "No, not right now. It came before they could harm me. I had a ship, a plan, in a place I always thought of." She looked into his eyes. "Here." That night, Avi stayed in the guest room, the same room where she had once rested, unable to move. Tamil had cleaned it years ago, but never changed much. As if he knew she might come back someday, she stood by the window, looking at the stars before going to sleep. And Tomil sat on the roof again. It's just like before. But this time, he wasn't alone. The next morning, Avi stood in the garden, touching the leaves of the small trees. Birds chirped nearby. Sunlight touched her skin, and she smiled. Tamil walked out with 2 cups of tea, handed one to her, and they sat under the old tree together. "You know," he said, "I used to think I'd never see you again. I used to think I'd never walk again," she said with a smile. They both laughed softly, for the first time in years. Tomil felt the same feeling he had when he first saw her in the pod. Something powerful, but peaceful. Something like hope. Later that day, she showed him a small device. It looked like a watch, but when she tapped it, a small light came out a star map. "This is where I was. This is my home," she said, pointing. "And this," she tapped another star, "is Earth. Your home. I want peace between them someday?" Tomil nodded. "That's a good dream. Not just a dream," she said. "A plan." That night, after she had gone to sleep, Tomial sat at the table looking at the pendant she had left him long ago. He pressed it. A small image of her appeared, still the old Avi, still resting, still quiet. He looked toward the guest room. Now she could walk, talk, fight for peace. Smile, she had come back. She was fine. Now, and that changed everything. Avi stayed. At Tomil's house, for many days, she moved around the place like she had never left. She helped him fix small machines, walked in the garden every morning, and sat with him at night under the stars. Her body had fully healed. She was stronger now, not just in her legs, but in her heart and mind. But Tamil noticed something. She was always watching the sky. Her face was calm, but her eyes looked worried sometimes. She often held a small device in her hand and checked it when she thought no one was looking. One evening, as they drank tea on the porch, Tomil finally asked, "You're hiding something, aren't you?" Avi looked at him. She didn't answer. "Right away, yes," she said softly. "But not from you. I just didn't want to bring trouble here." Tamil stayed quiet, waiting. Avi sighed. "There's a new war coming. Not between humans and aliens, but between my people." Tomil leaned forward. "I thought you said things were getting better." "They were," she replied, "but not for long. Leaders didn't like the changes I made. They still want power, and they want to rule with fear. They think peace is weakness." Tomil frowned. "And you were in their way?" Avi nodded. "They tried to remove me quietly. They failed. So I left before they could do worse. But they won't stop." may come after me again, or worse, try to control Earth, thinking humans are weak. Tommel's face grew serious. They don't know humans very well then. Avi smiled. That's why I came back. I need your help again, not to hide me this time, but to help protect your world. That night, they sat in the barn. Avi opened a small round object and placed it on the ground. A large map appeared in the air, showing stars and planets. This is the Arvali star region, she explained. Our empire covers many planets. But now a group called the Draxan faction has taken over the outer zones. They have ships, soldiers, and weapons. And they know about Earth. Tomil looked at the glowing blue, marked Earth. They plan to test Earth's defenses, Avi continued. If they find it weak, they may try to take control. Not by attack, but by placing spies, sending machines, controlling governments from the inside. Tomil frowned. But Earth doesn't even know aliens are real yet. Our governments are blind. Avi's eyes narrowed. That's why we need to act before they do. Over the next few days, Tomil and Avi worked together. She taught him about her tech. She showed him how to connect alien devices to Earth's simple machines. Tomil, with his strong hands and clever mind, learned fast. They built a small device hidden inside the barn. It looked like a radio tower, but it could send signals deep into space. Even jam or trace other signals. This is how we'll watch. Them, Avi said. If they try anything, we'll know first. Tomil smiled. And then what? Then she said, we warn the right people. Quietly, carefully. One night, while they were testing the device, the screen blinked red. Incoming. Signal-coded Draxan origin. Avi froze. They're here, she said. Tomil stood beside her. On Earth? No. But close. A small ship is scanning from the edge of your solar system. What are they looking for? Me, she said, eyes dark. Are signs that Earth is ready. Tomil walked to the back of the barn and opened a hidden drawer. Inside was the pendant Avi had given him long ago. He held it in his hand and looked at her. We're ready, Avi smiled, though her eyes were heavy. The next day, they took a trip to the nearby town. Tomil had a friend named Dr. Hames, an old scientist who used to work with Earth's hidden defense network. Years ago, when Tomil had sent out of his signal, the government had quietly watched him for months. But nothing had happened, so they left him alone. Now, he needed to talk to someone again. Dr. Hames lived in a small house full of books and dusty machines. When he saw Avi, his mouth dropped open. You're one of them, he whispered. Avi nodded. I am Arvali. I'm here in peace. Tomil explained everything. The crash, the healing, the warning, the danger. Dr. Hames listened closely. Then he stood up and walked to a shelf. I always said they'd come back, he said. No one believed me. But I've been building something. A way to block outside control signals. Not a full weapon, just a shield. Evie's eyes lit up. That could save Earth. They spent the whole night working with Dr. Hames. He shared his notes. Avi gave him advanced energy cells. Tomil helped fix the power units. Together, they built a new device. Small, but powerful. By the time the Draxan ship entered Earth's orbit, it sent a silent signal to test if the planet could be watched. Nothing came back. Blocked Avi smiled. They'll think Earth is broken. Or protected. That will buy us time. That evening, as the sun set, Tomil and Avi sat outside again. The air was cool. The stars above sparkled like tiny lights. You've done a lot in a short time, Tomil said. I had to, Avi replied. This planet gave me a second chance. I will not let it be taken. Tomil looked at her. What happens next? We prepare, she said. We find others. People who believe in peace, on Earth and beyond. We build a network, quiet but strong. And me. Avi looked at him kindly. You are my first ally, the one who started it all. If you're willing, you'll help lead. Tomil looked at the stars. I never asked for this. I know, Avi whispered. But sometimes, the quiet ones change the galaxy. That night, a new star appeared in the sky bright, moving. Fast, it wasn't a star, it was a warning. But Earth was not afraid, because this time the world had Avi. In Tamil, the days following the arrival of the Draxan signal were tense. Tamil and Avi worked quickly, building defenses, sending out warnings, and keeping a close eye on the sky. Earth was still unaware of the true danger that hovered just beyond its atmosphere. Tamil found it strange that the world didn't seem to notice the subtle signs of alien activity. No government seemed to take it seriously. People still went about their daily lives, focusing on their small worries, unaware that something bigger was coming, something bigger than anything they had ever imagined. In the small town where Tamil lived, life went on as usual. He worked, helped his neighbors, and kept quiet about what was really happening. But in secret, he was preparing. With Avi's help, he had connected the devices they built to Earth's communication systems. They used an old, quiet network that didn't belong to any government, one that the world had forgotten about. It was the perfect place to send their message without anyone knowing. Avi stood beside him, watching the sky. "The ship is still out there," she said softly, her voice steady but filled with concern. Tamil nodded. "I know, we've blocked. There's signals, but they'll try again. We can't hide forever." Avi turned to face him. "I didn't come here to hide. I came to change things." Tamil met her gaze. "I know, but sometimes change takes time." "Not this time," she said. "I've waited long enough." That afternoon, Tamil and Avi traveled to Dr. Haim's house again. It was the only place where they could safely discuss their next steps. The old scientist had become an ally. He knew about the hidden defense systems Tamil had helped develop and the alien technology Avi had brought with her. Together, they had created something strong, an invisible shield against the Draxan's surveillance, but that wasn't enough. They needed more. They needed people. "Are you sure about this?" Tamil asked as they walked into Dr. Haim's workshop. The room was filled with papers, old computers, and broken machines. It was a place where the future and past seemed to meet. "I'm sure," Avi said, her eyes focused. "The Draxan faction won't give up. They think Earth is weak. They think humans are unprepared." Dr. Hames looked up from his desk, his face serious. "But you're not the only one with this information, right? If we don't act, they'll destroy us, or worse, control us without us knowing." Tamil nodded. He didn't like the thought of that. Earth was a peaceful place. It's full of simple people who didn't deserve to be caught in a war they didn't even know existed. "We need to find more people," Avi said. "People who believe in peace, but also understand the power of strength. The world may not be ready to face aliens, but we don't have time to wait." Dr. Hames pushed a button on his computer, and a map of the world appeared on the screen. "We can start small. We know where the Draxans are, can track their movements and send signals to the right people. But we need help, people who have influence, people who can act." Tamil leaned in, studying the map. "But who will listen? Who's going to believe us?" Avi smiled. "Not everyone has to believe. We just need the right people to know. Start quietly, build trust, and then we act." Tamil wasn't sure, but something inside him stirred. He had never thought of himself as a leader. He had always been just one person, working in the shadows, fixing machines, and keeping his head down. But now it was clear that things were changing. He could no longer remain quiet. He had to do something. Over the next few weeks, Tamil, Avi, and Dr. Hames reached out to a small group of trusted individuals. They weren't world leaders or military commanders. They were ordinary people, scientists, engineers, and a few high-ranking officials who had once worked on secret projects. They were the ones who could make a difference. The plan was simple. Warn them, show them the truth, get them to act before it was too late. Avi, using her knowledge of Arvali technology, created a network of secure communications. They spread the message to every corner of the globe, reaching people who were ready to listen. It wasn't easy. Most people were skeptical. Many thought it was a hoax. But there were always a few who knew something was wrong, who could see the patterns in the stars. The group met in secret, planning their next move. They couldn't trust the news, couldn't trust the government. They couldn't even trust each other completely. But they had to try. One night, after weeks of preparation, Tomil and Avi sat alone in the barn, watching the glowing map on the wall. It had been quiet for days. No new signals from the Draxons. No ships in the sky. "Do you think they've given up?" Tomil asked. Avi's expression was hard to read. "No, they're waiting for the right moment. They're watching." Tomil looked up at the stars. "What if we're wrong? What if this is all for nothing?" Avi turned to him, her silver blue eyes filled with certainty. "You can't think that way. We're not just fighting for Earth. We're fighting for everyone, every person who deserves peace. Every person who deserves to live free." Tomil took a deep breath. He had come so far. He had watched her grow stronger, fight for what she believed in. He had learned so much from her, and now it was time to act. "We're ready," Tomil said. "I'll do whatever it takes. If we fail together." Avi smiled. "That's all I need to hear." The next day, the first official message was sent. It was a simple warning hidden in plain sight, buried in 100 different signals, that no one but the right people could decode. It was a message of hope, but also of power. "We are ready. Earth will stand together." For the first time in months, Tomil felt hope. He had never thought of himself as a hero. But maybe, just maybe, the quiet ones were the ones who could change the world, and he was ready to lead, ready to fight for what was right. The quiet days had passed, but the calm was now replaced by a growing tension. The world was preparing for something it could not yet fully understand. Earth was no longer just a small, peaceful planet tucked away in the corner of the universe. It was a place of power, a place that could be a force to change the future of many worlds. And in that, Avi and Tomil had a role to play. For the past few weeks, they had worked in secret, gathering allies, building connections, and waiting for the right moment. The Draxon faction was still out there, watching, waiting. They had no idea what was coming. But Avi and Tomil knew. The time to act was now. It was early morning when Tomil stood at the edge of his property, looking out over the horizon. The first light of day had just begun to break through the dark sky. He had always found peace in this quiet, simple life. But today was different. Today, his world would change forever. Behind him, Avi stepped out of the house, her silver blue hair glimmering in the early light. She wore a simple tunic, but even in such a plain outfit, she radiated strength and grace. The years had changed her. She was no longer the broken, paralyzed alien who had fallen from the sky. Now she was a leader, someone who had brought hope, strength, and peace to a planet that had no idea what was at stake. "I've been thinking," Tomil said, turning to her. "What happens when the Draxons come? They finally decide to make their move." Avi's expression was serious. "When they come, we'll be ready. They don't know Earth. They don't understand us, but we have the power to show them." Tomil nodded, his mind racing. "But what if they don't stop? What if they come with everything they have?" "Then we fight," Avi replied. Her voice was steady, unwavering. "Not with weapons, not with violence, but with the strength of people who refused to back down." The next few hours were spent preparing. Tomil and Avi set up their communication system, one that would connect them to the allies they had gathered. These people, scattered around the world, were now the hidden force that would act when the time was right. They were teachers, doctors, scientists, engineers, ordinary people who believed in the power of peace, but also knew that sometimes peace required strength. Tomil had never thought of himself as a leader. He was just a farmer, a fixer of machines. Standing beside Avi, he felt something stir inside him. She had given him a purpose, a reason to believe in something greater than himself. And now he knew he couldn't turn away. "This is it," Avi said, looking over their setup. "This is our chance to show the Draxons that Earth is not a weak planet, that humanity is not something to be ignored." The first signal came that afternoon, hidden in a series of coded messages sent through the world's networks. Brief but clear: "We are ready. Earth stands united." It was a message not just to the Draxons, but to the people of Earth as well. To those who had been watching, waiting for someone to lead. To those who had always believed in the strength of humanity, but never knew how to fight for it. By evening, the Draxon ship appeared again. But this time, it did not send out the usual signals. Instead, it seemed to hover, as though unsure of its next move. Tamil watched as Avi looked up at the sky. "They're here," she said quietly. "But this time, we're not hiding." World was about to see something they had never expected. In secret, the small group of Earth's allies began their work. They activated the hidden communication network, broadcasting messages to every corner of the globe. They didn't use weapons. They didn't send troops. They sent words, and those words carried a power far stronger than any weapon. The truth. The Draxons think they can control us. But they don't understand us. Avi's voice echoed through the network. "We are Earth. We are not afraid." Her message was broadcast across every screen, every device, every home. The world watched, amazed, as the words of a princess, who had once been lost in space, reached their hearts. Her message wasn't about war. It wasn't about fear. It was about unity. By nightfall, the Draxon ship moved closer to Earth's atmosphere. Sensors began to scan the planet, searching for weaknesses. But as it did, it was met with something unexpected. Resistance. Not the kind of resistance they had planned for. Not soldiers, not weapons, just people. People who believed in peace, who believed that the power of unity could push back any force. No matter how strong, the Draxons began to transmit a message in return: this planet is weak. Your resistance is nothing. But that was when the real message hit. The world's leaders, those who had once dismissed the idea of aliens, of anything beyond their own world, began to speak out. They began to broadcast their own messages. Ones of support for Avi and for Earth's stand against the Draxons. It wasn't just one country or one voice. It was the entire planet coming together. "We stand together," the leaders said. "Stand with Earth." And in the middle of it all, standing tall and proud, was Avi. She had no army, no weapons. But she had the power of belief, the power of people who had come together to show the universe that Earth was more than just a small, unimportant world. Avi spoke again, this time directly to the Draxon ship. Her voice was calm but full of strength. "You think we are weak because we are not like you? But you are wrong. We are not like you. We are human, and we will never back down." The Draxons, stunned by the power of the human response, hesitated. For the first time, they saw something they had never expected: the will of an entire planet, standing together. Hours passed. The Draxon ship did not move. The world watched, holding its breath. Then, the signal came. The Draxon ship began to retreat. Slowly, carefully, it moved away from Earth, disappearing back into the stars. Tamil stood next to Avi, watching the sky. "We did it." Avi turned to him and smiled, her eyes filled with pride. "No, we did it." As the Draxons retreated, Earth stood victorious, not because of violence, but because of the strength of its people. They had shown the universe that humanity was not weak, that no matter what came, Earth would stand together. Tamil looked at the stars. He had never been a leader, never thought of himself as important. But standing beside Avi, he realized that sometimes the quietest voices could change the world. And with that, the two of them, a human and an alien, stood together. The future was uncertain, but for the first time in a long time, Tamil believed that humanity was ready for whatever came next.